Hello viewers, welcome to the channel. My name is Antika and in this video I am going to discuss William Shakespeare's play The Merchant of Venice, Act 3, Scene 2. This is the second part of the video. In the first part of Act 3, Scene 2 video, we come to know about the turning point in the play when Bassanio faces the challenge mentioned in Portia's father's will. That means he has to select one of the three caskets made up of gold, silver and lead. In case Bassanio picks the right casket with Portia's picture inside, he will be entitled to marry her. Now, one thing we need to understand that selection of the correct casket is very crucial to Bassanio because this is the reason he has arrived at Belmont. Remember students, in the very first scene of the play, Bassanio admits that he wants to go to Belmont to try and win Portia, a lady richly left, whom he considers not only to be beautiful but also a good-natured lady. Bassanio intends to win both Portia's heart and her hand in marriage through the caskets test as devised by her father. In the play, Bassanio, the last of the suitors, is portrayed as neither proud nor arrogant. This contrasts with the attitude of the other two suitors. As if you can remember, they are full of self-importance. Therefore, we can say that their purpose, among others, is to make Bassanio appear virtuous. Bassanio is significant and by far the most important of the three suitors because Portia actually displays interest for him. In Act 1, Scene 1, when Bassanio tells Antonio that in Belmont is a lady richly left, and she is fair, and fairer than that word, of wondrous virtues. Sometimes from her eyes I did receive fair speechless messages. Her name is Portia, nothing undervalued to Cato's daughter, Brutus's Portia. Now, we need to examine the way in which Bassanio deliberates choosing the caskets. In the following lines, we are going to notice how Bassanio's approach is different from Prince of Morocco and Prince of Aragon. At this time, Portia asks for music to be played in the background, perhaps to calm Bassanio and to give him clues about the right choice of the casket. The central idea in the song that is used as background music while Bassanio is making his choice of caskets focuses on the word fancy. Now, fancy during Shakespeare's time or Elizabethan time carried the meaning of infatuation or temporary affection. Bassanio picks up on this idea and carefully thinks about it, in which outward shows mislead or deceive the observer. Not only that, Bassanio extends this perception to law, religion, military honor, and physical beauty. He tries to decide carefully over which casket to choose. Let us look at line number 75 of Act 3, Scene 2. Bassanio carefully looks at the three caskets and thinks out loud that outward appearances are not at all what they seem to be. People are always deceived by outward appearances. For example, during a legal proceeding, a particularly deceitful case or a particularly criminal case may be presented with great eloquence or fluent and in a persuasive manner to mask its true nature and evil intentions. Similarly, a person who appears to be pious and quotes the Bible can still commit serious sins while justifying their actions. In simpler words, a religious person of any religion can commit serious crimes and justify their actions by reading scriptures from the holy books. Therefore, almost every wrongdoing can seem virtuous on the surface, even if it is quite straightforward. Bassanio also states that there are many cowards whose hearts are as unreliable as a stairway built of sand, and yet they put on a brave appearance, just like the ancient heroes Hercules and stern-faced Mars. Now, why Mars? Because Mars is the Roman god of war. If searched below the surface, those people may have livers white as milk. Now, the Elizabethans regarded liver as an organ of courage. Hence, the term white liver means to be a coward. Okay. It was believed that a brave person's liver should be red with blood, and the outward signs of courage make them appear as intimidating. Alright. Bassanio believes that beauty can be purchased by weight at shops. He refers to cosmetics that work like miracles by making those who wear the most of it become the most beautiful. Bassanio also mentions the curly golden locks of hair that are ruffled in the wind. They seem beautiful, but often they turn out to be a wig made out from a dead person's hair. Bassanio says that outward appearances can be as deceiving as an inviting seashore that leads to a dangerous ocean. He continues to say that outward appearances may appear as beautiful scarves hiding an actually undesirable Indian beauty. Now, the ideal Elizabethan beauty during the 16th century was blonde with fair skin. The Elizabethans thought of the dark-skinned West Indians as Indians, and therefore this reference. Okay. In short, Bassanio understands that appearances can be tricky and often deceive even the wisest. Therefore, to win Portia, Bassanio must ignore the gold casket, which bears the inscription, "Who chooseth me shall gain what many men desire," as mentioned in Act 2, Scene 7, line number 5. Bassanio does exactly that. He rejects the golden casket, saying, "Hard food for Midas, I will none of thee." Now, in Greek mythology, Midas was a prosperous king who desired for everything he touched to transform into gold. His wish was granted, but he soon realized that even the simplest and the most essential things like food he touched turned into lifeless golden objects. Faced with the consequences of his greedy wish, Midas pleaded with Dionysus, the god who had granted his favor, to undo the golden touch. Compassionately, Dionysus decided to revoke the curse and return things to their original state upon Midas's heartfelt request. Now, the silver casket, which says, "Who chooseth me shall get as much as he deserves," as mentioned in Act 2, Scene 7, line number 7. Bassanio rejected the silver casket too, calling it a lowly servant passing from man to man. That means in the form of silver coins. Then Bassanio focuses on the lead casket, which says, "Who chooseth me must give and hazard all he had," as mentioned in Act 2, Scene 7, line number 9. The leaden casket is the correct casket, as it signifies that the person who chooses it must be prepared to give up and risk everything they have. Therefore, we can say that this contest incorporates several teachings from Christianity, such as the idea that our desires and senses can be unreliable and therefore they should be resisted. It also highlights the notion that things are not always as they appear to be, which is why the lead casket has a plain and unimpressive appearance. We know that faith and charity are essential values in Christianity, and these values are reflected in the lead casket's requirement to give and risk everything. So, we can say that it is similar to taking a leap of faith. Portia sighs with relief in an aside to the audience as Bassanio chooses the correct casket. All her feelings vanish into thin air. Her doubt, despair, fear, and jealousy disappear. She hopes and pleads herself to stay calm so that she doesn't feel sick and get overwhelmed by it. Bassanio opens the lead casket to reveal Portia's portrait, along with a poem congratulating him on his choice and confirming that he has won Portia's hand in marriage. Bassanio gets astounded by Portia's lifelike portrait in the lead casket and praises her beauty by asking which godly artist has created such a beautiful portrait. He goes on to saying that it appears as if Portia's eyes are following him as he looks around. Bassanio then tells Portia that he needs her consent for them to get married. Portia assures that everything that she owns, including herself, now belongs to Bassanio, and all his possessions belong to her. Bassanio says that he is shocked by his victory, and right at this moment, he feels like a guy who has won a contest and only believes that he has won it because everyone else around him is so cheerful and happy. He also says that he is too shocked to believe this could really be happening. Therefore, he will only accept it as true once Portia confirms and approves it. Therefore, we can say that just like Jessica embraced Christianity for Lorenzo, Portia expresses that she has fully given herself, along with all her possessions and wealth, to Bassanio. Love here is depicted as a force that brings about change and establishes a sense of ownership. When Bassanio metaphorically speaks of his love for Portia flowing through his veins, he connects love to the idea of humans being described as animals, which Shylock used to define humanity in Act 3, Scene 1. Portia, of course, seems to be very happy and euphoric. She wishes, for the sake of Bassanio, that she were 60 times better than herself, 1,000 times more beautiful, and 10,000 times more wealthier. Although Portia admits that she lacks experience, she is excited because she is neither too old nor too stupid to learn. These wishes express her desire to excel in everything for the sake of Bassanio. Portia then gives herself over to Bassanio, happily accepting him as her lord, her governor, her king. She says that everything that was hers is now his, including her mansion, her servants, and herself. She gives him a ring to symbolize their love and signify their new union, and says that if he loses the ring or gives it away, it will be as good as ruining their love. She therefore asks him to promise never to part with it. Bassanio again claims to be too stricken by all of these new developments to say anything meaningful. He adds that his feelings are like the cheering of a crowd after a good princess speech. Nothing distinct can be heard, but all joy is expressed without any specific expression. Bassanio is overjoyed and tells Portia that his love for her runs through his veins like his blood. He declares that if the ring ever leaves his finger, he might as well be proclaimed dead. Therefore, we can say that this ring becomes a very important part of the main plot. As it starts the ring episode we come across later in the play. After Bassanio's successful selection of the right casket and after the speeches of Portia and Bassanio, Nerissa greets them and wishes them great joy. Gratiano also wishes Portia and Bassanio and says that all the joy and happiness that they desire may be showered upon them. Now, Gratiano requests Bassanio to grant him a special favor, that is, to allow him to marry at the same time of the marriage ceremony of Portia and Bassanio. Bassanio gives his consent most heartily, provided Gratiano can get a wife. Gratiano now reveals that while Bassanio impressed Lady Portia, Gratiano impressed her lady-in-waiting Nerissa. Bassanio heartily agrees to their marriage and states that their marriage feast shall be honored by having Gratiano and Nerissa's wedding celebrations at the same time. Now, right at that time, Lorenzo and Jessica enter with Salerio in Portia's house at Belmont. While Bassanio and Portia welcome them, Salerio explains that he is carrying a letter from Antonio in order to give to Bassanio. Throughout this time, Gratiano and Nerissa continue to flirt and joke cluelessly as Bassanio begins reading the letter. It is at this time the ugly reality of Shylock's revenge disrupts this peaceful and picturesque romantic scene. Bassanio gets increasingly upset as he reads the letter. In the letter, Antonio writes that all of his sheep are lost and that Shylock plans to collect his pound of flesh. Bassanio then tells Portia about the money he allowed Antonio to borrow from Shylock, and he also told her about Antonio's loss of ships. Salerio then curses Shylock's brutality and says, "Never did I know a creature that did bear the shape of man, so keen and greedy to confound a man," as mentioned in Act 3, Scene 2, lines 274 and 275. He also comments that Shylock has been begging the Duke to give him justice. At this point, Jessica also mentions about the time when she was with her father and she heard him say that he would rather have Antonio's flesh than 20 times the value of the sum that he did owe him. For the very first time, everyone, including Bassanio, seems to process the horrible reality of the revenge plot by Shylock. And Salerio, speaking for the other Venetians, criticizes Shylock for his bestial quality because of his desire to do something so cruel. However, the abuse that Christians typically hurl at the Jews does not appear as bestial to them. Here, Jessica's comment implies that Shylock is consumed by the desire for revenge. The news of Antonio's loss at sea provokes a fit of guilt in Bassanio, which in turn prompts Portia to offer to pay 20 times of the sum. Jessica, however, worries that her father is more interested in revenge than in money. Bassanio reads out the letter from Antonio, who asks only for a brief reunion before he dies. Portia urges her husband to rush to his friend's aid, and Bassanio leaves for Venice. That is all for now, everyone. Hope this helped you to understand Act 3, Scene 2 a little bit better. Thank you for listening. Bye.